Hi everyone, it's me Darlene, still under the weather. Got that congestion thing that I get. It's really starting to bother my ears. A little bit of a sore throat, and yes, I have Medicare now, and I could go to a doctor and pay 20% because I don't have any supplemental plans set up yet. Learning about that a little bit more tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I have never gone to a doctor for this. I get it, I would say, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, or sometimes 3 times within 2 years. I get this, and I have been for as long as I can remember. And I am starting to think it has to do with temperature changes. I don't know. But I'm tired. And yeah, it just fucks me up for a little while, but not to the point where I can't do anything. I'm not like throwing up. It's not like the flu. It's just miserable in my head. Yeah, and we've been like so busy with so many things. I'm stirring my hot decaf, a mild, a weak decaf with a hunk of butter, a little bit of milk, and I used vanilla extract tonight, a little squirt of that in my good old Dunkin' Donuts mug. That is very old, and I love it. All right, so feeling like shit. I haven't done a video for the past 2 days, so I wanted to jump in and do a little bit of one tonight just to keep things going. Gotta pay the bills, that kind of thing. And yeah, so Joe is obviously home. I didn't do a video because I was doing quite a bit of them. He just kept going to the hospital, coming back. So, he's been home, and I did say so on Facebook, but some of you still think he's there. 3 Sundays in a row, I had to call an ambulance for him. The first Sunday, it was low sugar, and we just stayed the night in the ER, came home in the morning. The second one, it was high sugar. He was DKA, and he was in the hospital for, I think, 3 nights, 4 days, something like that, and in the intensive care. And then the next one was, again, low sugar, and he stayed in intensive care for a few days. And the third time, he got really good care. The people were really nice. The nurses were nice. And when I picked him up, I on purpose didn't say anything. I picked him up. I went early enough that I was going to be in his room because I didn't want to say, meet me outside. I'll be outside, come outside, because I didn't want to see him walking out on his own. That would have really upset me. So I said, I'm going in. And I'm not going to say anything, and I'm going to see if they get him a wheelchair, because if you've been following along, when he came out after being, horizontal on a bed with his big sign, high fall risk, on his door, a sign, they let him leave because they didn't have a wheelchair in a hospital. They didn't have a wheelchair. They let him walk out. He's like, what am I supposed to do, just walk? And they said, yeah. And she said, we can get a chair. It'll be like 30 minutes. And he knew I was sitting right outside, so he walked to the elevator. And then the elevator's 9th floor, so it stops a lot. And he should not have been left alone. He could have lost his balance. Then he had to walk out, and he was carrying stuff. And so that really bothered me. And I did complain to certain people in the hospital, but I still want to make a written complaint about that. And then, so this time I said, I'm coming, and I'll just wait with you. And I'm so glad I did, because his nurse has been a diabetic since childhood, like Joe. He was diagnosed at age 5, been on insulin all her life up to now. She's on a pump, and she gave me the best tips as to how to handle his diabetes, especially when it goes high. And she said most doctors, they overdo the insulin, and that's what causes the lows at night. And so she was explaining to me, for every 100 you want it to drop, like if he's 500, she said he should be around 200, not lower than that, because he can drop low. So it's 5 units per 100 that you want to drop. And I was like, that's so little, such a little amount of insulin compared to what he's taking. And she said, because he's over medicated with that shit. So she didn't say shit, I'm saying that. And she didn't say over medicated. She's just saying that doctors, they just prescribe too much. It's like too much. So I was encouraged that I got something that I can understand. I like math, and it made sense to me. It's like, how come you're always taking the same amount of units when it's different numbers? So I was really happy. And then when we were ready to go, she goes, okay, hang on, I'm going to get your wheelchair. So when she got the wheelchair, I told her what happened, and she said, are you serious that he left this building on his own? And Joe's like, yeah, I walked from the 9th floor. I mean, took the elevator, had to walk and get out of the elevator, walk to the door. So she said, that is unheard of. She's like, I can't even believe you went through that. So I know I need to still put it in writing, and I will. And then, yes, that's really the major thing that I didn't like, but I also didn't like that, we were very clear that he's not to take Seroquel, and then somehow they were going to give him Seroquel, and we just accidentally found that out, which is a good thing, because that's when his sugar was high. Seroquel makes his sugar go high. So there's a few things, but the 3rd visit was really, really good, and I started doing what the nurse said, not having him take his so much insulin at night. Now, he came home, I don't know, so he's been home for a little over a week. Right, this is, what day is this? I don't know, a little over a week, I think. 2 Sundays in a row, he did not go to the hospital. 3 in a row, he did. And I think we've gone 2 Sundays now where he was okay. Can't really remember because I'm tired. But last night, checked his blood. I told him, you need just this much insulin. He wanted a little bit more, and I was like, you really shouldn't, because I don't want you to go low tonight. He's like, it's not going to go low. When he is butting heads with me about that, I've got to find a way to just be able to overlook that and do. And I can't, I'm not lying. I'm not going to say, okay, here's, 20 units and really only be doing 10. I don't do that. So I can't just, and I don't care if he's sick or not. I'm not lying to him about what I inject into his body, So I kind of let him I was like, okay, it's in your hands. So we went to bed. Everything was good. I woke up at 4 in the morning. Couldn't go back to sleep. I always touch him when I wake up. He was dry, and I was like, okay, good. It's not, his sugar's not low. 5 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, oh my God, I got to try to go back to sleep. So I get ready to put my back up to his back, and when I moved the blankets, I felt dampness, and then I touched his body, and he was wet, not drenched, but wet. And I said, Joe, and he was able to say what, and I said, okay, we're not too late, because the last thing I wanted to do is call an ambulance. I'm embarrassed to have that ambulance continue to come here, and they did not good things either. They didn't have the D50 shot that he would have needed when his sugar was low to try to get him out of that. So I do have some complaints that I need to make. So I get up and I go over to his side of the bed and get his meter and check it, and it was 66. I can handle 66. He was able to drink orange juice with sugar, so I gave him a glass about this tall, lots of sugar in it. He drank it all and just waited a little bit. Now I wasn't falling right back to sleep, and he was talking in a very, his little soft, kitten voice, because that's how he gets when his sugar is low. And then when he started talking normal, I said, all right, we're good for the rest of the night, and we were, and he woke up fine. So I was just, like I said, I'm going to have to deal with figuring out a way to be able to insist, or just, I don't know. I don't like to go against what he wants me to do or not do. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And so we saw his doctor today in Memphis, and he's going to eventually have to stop going there because they will not take his Medicaid, because that's Tennessee and his Medicaid is Mississippi. However, it's not in the system yet for them, and we're all thinking it's because he has not been 100% approved. It's temporary. So she's like, as long as he's not in the system, we're going to ignore that and continue to give you your meds, because we're going to have to figure out he's only allowed 6 meds per month, and then out of pocket for the others, and he's like on 11. You know, it's like a lot of shit. So we're going to have to try to figure out how we're going to handle all that for him. Obviously, we're going to try to count the 6 that are the most expensive, like insulin and his Vraylar for his bipolar. So there's a lot of things, and then we find out today that he can't go to his heart doctor. Again, he's in Memphis, Tennessee, and not Mississippi, so now I have to hunt for a heart doctor for him, and he may need another stent, so I got to start looking into that now. And we have a referral in from the primary care that he saw here in Hernando to go for an endo, I always want to say an endodontist or something weird, endo, I know what it is, endo, it's a diabetic doctor, I cannot think, I just call it an endo doctor. It's a diabetes doctor, and it's endocrinologist, something like that. I'm ashamed that I still don't know it, I forget it. So, but we didn't get a call back, so we got to look into that, because if he can get a pump, I'm hoping that with me to be with him to help him through a pump, he's got a better chance of it working. He said he had a pump years ago for like 3 years and it didn't work. I can't even imagine that he was being anywhere near like really careful about that and keeping up with whatever it entails. I don't know. Okay, so that's to do with Joe. And Joe did have a little dream where we talked a little bit, but I wanted to let you know that tomorrow, it's just been so busy for me. Tomorrow, now I'm going to a SHIP advisor who it's State Health something insurance program assistant. They don't use the A, but an insurance assistant program. State Health Insurance Assistant Program, something like that. It's an unbiased person. She's not involved with any agency or insurance company or anything like that. Supposed to explain a little bit more to Medicare. I'm hoping a little bit more, because I've done a lot of studying, and I asked my patrons and stuff, and for help, and let me know if you know, or you know what I mean, and they help a lot, tell me what to look up or do, or so I'm not too encouraged, but I'm hoping that I can find out a little bit more as to what I want for me. And yeah, so it's just all a hot mess. I hate to spend a lot on insurance, because it's very rare that I go to a doctor. But the primary care that Joe has here now, Derek has been going to him. He's new to the area. They were really, really nice, and it was Joe's appointment, so I didn't want to be like, I'd like to come here too, but I need to ask you, because I want to know if he's going to be okay with me being carnivore. But while we were in the room and he's talking to Joe and stuff, and he happened to start saying something about, because of the ketoacidosis and stuff, and he's keto. He follows a keto diet. And, he's like, it's not the same as with you and this and that, but he's like, he's just explaining how the ketos work, and he's always testing his ketos and things like that. And I thought, So I said, you're keto? He said, yeah. I said, if I became a patient here, how would you feel about me being carnivore? He's like, that is, yes. I'm like, oh my God, I got my doctor. So he's all on board with that. He's not going to convince me that I need vegetables. He just chooses to do it that way, and that's all there is to it. And he's fine with me being carnivore. There's a little fly. Get out. So I was happy about that. He's right around the corner, and the team there is just really, really nice, and so I was happy. And so yeah, so I we'll be able to at least go see a doctor. But again, it probably would be better off for me to pay my 20%. and not be overly concerned because I might go to a doctor once a year. However, if something were to happen to me, 20% of a big bill, thousands and thousands of dollars, can be a big chunk. So I do want to look for something, for a supplement of some kind. I'm thinking high deductible G might be what I'm looking for. If any of you out there have that, that might be the thing I go to. So I'm going tomorrow to hopefully learn more about all of this shit. All right, Joe just came in and asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm recording, like I just told you. He must be so tired because he was up today, because we went to see his doctor, and then we stopped by to see a car that I almost bought 2 weeks ago, and I didn't get the price I wanted, and I noticed that they dropped the price by $1,000 on that car. So I went by there again, stuck with my first offer, and they wouldn't budge, but I got a different salesperson. Oh my God, this whole car shopping thing is just crazy. So we've been gone, and then I got home 8 and went to a choir concert of Skylar. She's a senior, her last year of doing this stuff, so I went with Derek. Joe was tired, so I said, you can stay home. You don't need to come to this. And so now I'm back, and I'm trying to record. But let me tell you a little tiny dream that Joe had, and then I want to edit this, and because it's kind of late, I don't know, but I want to go to bed as soon as this is uploaded and put out there. The other night, this was an actual little conversation. We haven't had that in a while. He's been doing some one-liners, but I'm laying in bed. He wakes me up. I was asleep, and I'm on my back, and he's like turned away from me, so his back is like next to me. I'm just laying on my back. Arm comes over, and so his arm is like this over me, and he's got something in his hand. Now, he's done this before. And he goes, here, take these. And I say, what are they? And he says, gummies. I should tell you this before. Joe will never go into my purse. I think he's starting to be okay with that, but he'll say, oh, where's this? And I'm like, oh, I put it right in the front pocket of my, I don't touch your purse. I'm like, Joe, you can touch my purse, and especially when I'm giving you permission. So he doesn't want to go in my purse ever. Thinks that's just my business. So he goes, take these. And I'm like, what are they? And he goes, gummies. And I said, you mean gummies that will make me high? And he goes, yes. I said, did you take any? He goes, no, they're yours. And I said, where did you get them? And he goes, I got them out of your purse. And I'm like, that is so not him. And I said, you went in my purse? And he pauses and he goes, they fell out of your purse. Okay. Even though he's out of it, he knows enough now. Okay, I don't go in her purse. I don't want her to think I went in her purse. So they fell out of my purse. He said, and they're for you, so just take them. And I said, okay. So I put my hand and I touch his fingers, and he goes like that and drops all the gummies, and I put them in my mouth, and I'm like, thank you. He's like, okay. You know, I've never had a gummy. I've never tried any of that. And he hasn't either, oddly enough. But he wouldn't, because he's clean and sober, so he wouldn't touch a gummy. So I was like, I was thinking to myself, he's done this before with the hand over, and he wanted me to do something, and I couldn't remember. And now I remember. He was like, here, take it, take a hit. And I'm like, what are you talking? He goes, he was trying to offer me a joint, and I pretended to take a hit for him and gave it back. And then I think he flung it like that after, and the conversation was over. And he has a couple of one-liners. They're nothing spectacular, but I put them on my iPad because I'm always on my iPad. So I type the notes in so I can get it exactly like he says it. It just cracks me up because it's just funny to me. How do I find notes? Where's my notepad? It took me so long to find this. All right, notes. Now, these are just things. This happened to be the last time I did one-liners, it was during the day, but this happened to be at night, probably around 9:30. I'm just wide awake on my iPad, and he's sound asleep, and he just says things. And out of the blue, without him saying a word, he just says, and it's the way he'll say it to me, he'll just say, "I'm talking to myself." And I'm like, okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me know. He must be talking to himself in his head because he wasn't saying anything out loud. And then a little later, he just, out of the blue, says, "I'm not taking Rocket out." And I'm like, okay, that's all I need. There's just no other conversation about it. John Travolta tried to talk to me, and he was drunk. But I will say, he watched Pulp Fiction with me. He never had seen it, so he had John Travolta on his mind. He didn't care for that movie. I didn't think he would for some reason. I really liked it when it came out, and I was just like, I don't know. It was kind of old. I didn't care for it as much. Yeah, John Travolta tried to talk to me, and he was drunk. And then he says later, "I told the Clampett man to go home," and I can only assume he means Jed Clampett. He does. Watch the Beverly Hillbillies sometime. So, yeah, I guess Buddy Ebsen visited. I missed it. So those are just his little one-liners that he had. That was all 2 nights ago. And he just was very, very talkative. There was more things, but I can't always hear him with my headphones on. So, but I liked that. So far in his dreams, he wants to get me stoned in one way or another. And he wants me to, take a hit off a joint, and then he wants to give me the gummies. So he's cute with all his things. And so now I don't know what was up. He just comes in and he's just like all smiley, and I don't know. But I told him I'll be done in a minute. So I'm going to have another sip. Oh, it feels so good in my throat. Oh boy, that is so good with the vanilla. All right, you guys, and no sugar. I'm going to stop now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with more soon, and my life is bound to get a little bit back to normal, I think. It's just really, really busy right now. There's nothing I can do about that. Anyway, please subscribe. Like I said, I'll be back with more soon. Bye.